What's going on, everyone? I am BX Sports Jedi Kev here with this afternoon. I'll have a interesting topic here that I wanted to touch base. It's called collusion. Collusion, or is it privilege when it comes in the NFL when it comes to Ravens quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson. So I'm sorry, they're having a little bit of a technical difficulty there. I'll get that fixed. So I wanted to talk about Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, we all know, is the quarterback who is seeking a new contract with his Baltimore Ravens team. Former Heisman winner, former MVP of the NFL. It shows that he wants guaranteed money. That's a lot of money. Personally, I believe there is a collusion because as soon as he was franchise tagged, the NFL came out and immediately a bunch of different teams came out and said they're not interested. They're not interested. Overwhelming about 7 NFL teams overwhelmingly came out and discredit or makes it seem like the kid is radioactive toxic. And not for nothing, he has good numbers. If you look at that former MVP of the league, um, who doesn't get in trouble with the Baltimore Ravens, it's a young man from a good background with his parents. The one thing I'm thinking is there collusion with the NFL. He doesn't have an agent. His mother is his agent. His mother's currently working on the negotiations on the contract, working with the Ravens front office, and they're throwing a lot of negativity towards Lamar Jackson out there, saying that he quit on this team in the postseason. They didn't want to go out on the field. All the dirty laundries are coming out for Jackson, where if he was hurt, he didn't want to play injured going in possibly with his contract extension. He makes around $23 million currently on if they picked up his fifth-year option. They put the franchise tag, the non-exclusive. He could negotiate with teams around the league. Now, the Baltimore Ravens, you could say they're setting him up for he could go and check out with other teams what the market is for Lamar Jackson. What other teams think about him. But remember, there is a compensation if a team wants to sign Lamar Jackson, they have to give up 2 first-round picks. Now, why is this piquing myself? I'm a Jet fan, and I know we're waiting on Aaron Rodgers to be a possibility for the New York Jets, and they'll go, if they don't get him, do you pivot to Lamar Jackson? And that's a question for a whole nother story. It's not the why I made this video today. The Jets will have a chance to kick the tires on Lamar Jackson. But the reason why I made this video is their privilege or collusion case is when it comes to African American players in the NFL, there's a double standard. You know, well, case in point, this is a league that had to put a Rooney Rule, where head coaches from African American or minority candidate, when there's a vacancy, has to be interviewed at least 2 candidates. If there was no racial bias or skin color prejudice, they would not put a Rooney Rule. Look at Eric Bieniemy. Case in point, he has been with the Kansas City Chiefs for under Andy Reid's staff for such a long time, and year after year, I know. Hey, we could say it's a product of Mahomes being hell of a good quarterback, Andy Reid, all the excuses you could hear of, but no credit towards Eric Bieniemy, where he's lingering or begging to get a head coach job. He didn't have a chance. You get some good, Lovey Smith. Case in point, good job there with the Bears. He went out. The Texans' job was toxic. Was a terrible job. Was a losing situation. He makes that team competitive. He puts the right football mindset. You don't blatantly tank. You go out there and win every game. You don't take for granted any given Sunday on those players on the field. and he goes and wins that. Of course, it might have cost him the first round pick for the Texans, and he gets fired. Well, I thought you're supposed to, it's a result driven league. You're supposed to try to show improvement and try to make, you're supposed to make some type of gumbo with crap that they give you on the field. And I'm not saying that Texans players were crap, but Lovie Smith tried to make the best with no quarterback, a bad roster situation with Watson, and Lovie Smith did well. And what did he get? Canned. Jim Cardwell, another head coach in the league, very good head coach with the Indianapolis Colts. Well, he had Peyton Manning. That's fine. But the record still, you have a lot of respectability on that. Hasn't gotten another head coaching gig. A lot of narrative with Tony Dungy. Well, Tony Dungy has done fine with himself. He's in the booth, he's making good money, so forth. They don't get that second or third opportunities as many of these recycling head coaches who are Caucasian descendant. You know, when it comes to Lamar Jackson, the stereotype, oh, he's not a good thrower. He's just a runner. He's just an athlete who runs. But he won an MVP. Meanwhile, and again, I am a New Yorker. I love my Giants. I love my Jets. I'm going to say that right now. But no way, no how, Daniel Jones should be making more money than Lamar Jackson right now. Not for what he brings, what he has done and what he brings to what he has done in the league here. The body of work and track for Lamar Jackson is much greater than Daniel Jones. I'm sorry to say that, Giants fans. I know it's going to hurt, me saying that, but if you were to go back on that draft and you tell me, before the year started, Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones, and there might be some people now in Giant Land that might say Lamar Jackson over Daniel Jones. No way Lamar Jackson should be making around 50 to 45 million right now. The fact that he's being punished for not having an agent, I understand that it's kind of like a mob or a mafia scene where if you don't have an agent, you're going to be taken a disadvantage and you're seen as an outcast. Richard Sherman negotiated his own contract. And I know some of the owners weren't happy with Richard Sherman, but he saved himself that 4 to 5% on the fees that an agent, and I don't know, the agents are buffers, liaisons to the players. They take all the slings and arrows from the organization when they, it's negotiation tactic. We understand that a league when the owners are trying to magnifying what as a player, why shouldn't give you all this money that you're asking for because you make these mistakes on the field where it's going to cost us as a gamers organization. We're going to take a chance on you. It's part of the negotiation. The owners are trying to say, well, it's a privilege for you to play in our team, even despite the mistakes you make. And meanwhile, the player's rep is telling you, no, my player's an asset. He's the reason why you're winning and why you're going to go to the next level and make you billions of dollars getting to the championship games, winning divisions, Super Bowls, etc. And we know there's a back and forth. And for Lamar Jackson's mother, for hearing all the negative to her son, I don't know if she's a buffer, not telling Lamar, or sugarcoating and saying, no, they think, an agent is a bullshit artist. And I hate, and excuse my French, and I said this is going to be a little bit of a controversial topic. And I just had to talk about this with the collusion, the different privileges and different points that is going on in the NFL. And NFL keeps kicking himself in the foot, or the spotlight magnifies, and a lot of people don't talk about it. Um, why not? Why can't Lamar Jackson's mother? She must be a smart woman. I don't know her background. I know that they're from Pompano Beach area in South Florida. That I do know. Don't know her. I don't know what's her educational background either, or vice versa. But if she's wants the best interest for her son to make the most money, I'm pretty sure they're going to have attorneys look at the contracts, get all the legal languages, and so forth. This is not the first time where either a parent, a spouse has negotiated contracts for a so-called player. If you remember the New York Yankees, Jimmy Key, his wife was his agent. His wife did the contract signing negotiation for Jimmy Key in the early 90s, 93, when he signed with the New York Yankees and she was his agent. So this is not something uncommon, but I feel like that he's being colluded by especially when you have those 7 teams went out of their way to justifiably say they weren't interested in Lamar Jackson. It makes you raise an eyebrow. Why are you going out of your way? Just keep quiet. Don't say nothing. When they ask, it says, we have a quarterback in place, we have a program, and not just flat out came on like, hell no, we won't want him. That's kind of a little bit of an eyebrow raising in the league where, of course, you have a Rooney rule. You've seen coaches not getting a second opportunity in African descent. Flores should have not gone fired from Miami. He should have got another opportunity as a head coach. He got a short end of stick, seeing, wow, all of a sudden now he has an attitude. He's rugged, rigid, rugged. It wasn't good to get along with. But meanwhile, you have Urban Meyer acting like an idiot with the Jacksonville Jaguar. Didn't even make a half a season. He's out there getting lap dances and putting it on, getting exposed about being married, getting a lap dance in Ohio, not traveling with the team. Don't forget that. But he could act like a fool. And I'm not saying that it gives a free pass for the African American head coach to act like a fool. No, these guys are good head coaches. That's why you got to admire a guy like Tomlin in Pittsburgh. Hell of a head coach. I'm glad that the Rooney family is keeping him going and helping him rebuild and try to rebuild the Pittsburgh Steelers, because he is a good head coach. Boy, if he were to ever get dislodged away from the Steelers, I would love him to be a New York Giant or Jet head coach, because he is personally one of the best head coaches in the NFL. Now you starting to see that around. Let's go with Kaepernick. We know why Kaepernick and all that, making a big deal of of a kneel of Kaepernick, the Kaepernick deal. It's he wasn't a good quarterback. Put it this way, he wasn't skillful enough to continue. Because if you have skill, a lot of teams turn a blind eye. You got guys going, and of course, look at my Jets, and I want to bring my Jets because we're going Google Gaga over a guy who sat in a dark room for 4 days in a retreat, who last year decided to have the ayahuasca. And you know what? To each his own. You know what? No judgment. But my point is, he is doing some erratic behaviors that make you raise your eyebrows, and we're dying to bring him here because he is Caucasian. You know, and he could throw the football. He's talented. Why not Lamar Jackson? You know, and rightfully so. He took his punishment. Michael Vick, rightfully so. I love animals. We have two dogs here. And I have a dog sitting business. And of no one should ever do any harm to any dog, to any animal, period. And he paid his price, but he was talented. He had to go through hell to get that opportunity. He made the best of it. That's a good redemption story when it comes to Vic. You don't get that. You don't get that type of redemption. So I'm trying to go for pros and cons, giving you the pros and cons. If there is a racial bias in the NFL, there's a lot of negative that you want to point fingers that shows there's a little good old boys when it comes to the NFL. You got morons like Johnny Mansell, and I don't know Johnny Mansell, but what he shows there on TV, the way he acts like a buffoon, a clown, he had many opportunities to get an opportunity to stay in the league. As same thing goes with Tim Tebow. Kid never got in trouble. All he was professed his faith, and he was blackballed. And this is not a black and white thing here. This is another Caucasian who professes faith, and he's blackballed from the league. Tebow sucked. He played for my Jets. He wasn't good either. But the blatant dislike for that kid was crazy. There's an issue when it comes to the NFL with the same thing is happening with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is another quarterback right now. He's got that contract, but there's a lot of negativity coming around with him. Oh, did he get Kingsbury fired? So forth, bad attitude. DeAndre Hopkins. The stereotypes and I don't know if it's the media who are so thirsty to want to write a story and they don't take a minute to hold a minute. We're painting a picture of a person this way, and there's so much they seem to get blackballed. Look at Odell Beckham Jr. Now he's trying to redeem himself from an injury. Now everybody's going bananas for him. Before the injury, he was radioactive. Oh, he doesn't know how to behave. He's a toxic. He goes to these teams and he's terrible. Makes you wonder, is there a collusion case here? We use them up and get rid of them, especially in the league where contracts are not guaranteed. You could be cut tomorrow and you're out in the street. You have to make yourself wonder and ask yourself these questions about the NFL. This is a machine that makes billions of dollars. We will all be watching Sundays, no matter who they put there on the field. We'll be watching. But when it comes to the back behind the curtains and all the different stories and narratives that come out, you could tell there's like a recency or racial bias when it comes to that. I know you could say, well, Jedi, the league allow Ray Lewis to play in the Super Bowl. And we all know what happened with Ray Lewis. You know what? Touche. I give you that credit. They maybe but also you also see what happened, and rightfully so, deserved to be out of the league, completely gone with Ray Rice. That video was horrifying, was putrid, seeing what he did to his fiance in the elevator. But we also have to make sure we throw that hammer down on players like we saw Cooper Raleigh maybe a few years ago. You know, Gronk doesn't behave like he's a goofball, but he don't get into outside trouble. He just acts like a big party goofball, and that's okay. When it comes to that, he makes see. Let me ask this question: if Gronkowski was a different ethnicity, will we be accepting with that, or we consider him Antonio Brown? I'm asking you that question because I know Antonio Brown. He's out there with his comments. I mean, heck, his last game in the NFL, he took off his shirt and walked off the field shirtless and doing a weird dance in the Meadowlands. Antonio Brown left an imprint of unstable mental behavior. You know, and I think Gronk would never do something like that, but you could kind of see that parallel where, oh, goofiness. Antonio Brown will never play another down. I know, and again, what can the NFL do? I don't know if they could do anything. I think this is just a good old boy, and I think it goes beyond. It goes with the owners. Heck, they're fighting with trying to get the Commanders team owners away from him. Schneider, who's another tool. It's a little dirty league that's a multi-billion-dollar company that can continue to make money, and there is imperfection when it comes to NFL. For Lamar Jackson, personally, what do I want out of this outcome for him? Let his mother negotiate his contract. I hope he stays with the Ravens. Honestly, I hope he signs, gets the money that he's looking for, and stays as a Raven quarterback. He was drafted by that team. He should stay there, have his longevity. He's only 26 years old. If it's him to move, it is what it is. Personally, I hope the Commanders do sign him. I hope the Commanders to give up the 2 first-round picks, sign Lamar Jackson, pay him the money, get him under Ron Rivera, who's a hell of a head coach who has structure. And Lamar is not a bad kid. He's been under Harbaugh for since he's been in the league. Like every other quarterback has his ups and downs. For Lamar Jackson, personally, I'm hoping that he does get that contract with Baltimore, but you know what? I wouldn't mind him seeing him with the Washington Commanders. Yes, I'm a Giant fan. It will suck to see him run all over. You got Jalen Hurts. You're gonna put now Lamar Jackson back there. Oh my goodness. You got Dak Prescott. You have 3 of the predominantly best African quarterbacks in the league besides Mahomes, number one. But you put those there, my goodness, boy, that's a lot of handful for the Giants. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. But Lamar Jackson, put it this way: when kids play the video games, the Maddens, and they have Lamar Jackson, he is dynamic. Teams go out of their way to play for Lamar Jackson in the Madden game. Lamar Jackson shouldn't be going through this bad part, but you know what? If that's what it is to make millions, to be a multi-million-dollar person getting generational changing money, I think we all would like to endure and go through that. Yeah, it sucks. Listen, it sucks because I live in the South. I moved down here 20 plus years. I seen when it means to be felt, with the collusion or the prejudice being Hispanic in a all Caucasian county. And now the county's changed. Now, more minorities, more Hispanic, African American where I live. But before it was all Caucasian. There were certain parts you couldn't even travel to that they were still hanging people. If you was a cable or if you was a contract worker in certain parts where when I moved here 20 plus years ago. Yes. You know, it's real. I don't know. And there's a little hidden, or sometimes it rears its ugly head. Not to the degree it was in the 60s where our grandparents, well, from my grandparents were around, but it still exists. And I'm not saying the NFL is fully racist, no, because they have made so many millionaires, and minorities, from Hispanics to Black to Hawaiian to Polynesians. They have made millionaires, this league. But there is still that little bit of collusion, a little bit of bias when it comes to race. At times, you see it there, and regardless if it's a agent that you're not using correctly, if you're X amount of skin color, you can only run. You're not a passing quarterback. And I know you're gonna say, but wait a minute, isn't Patrick Mahomes one of the highest paid quarterbacks? Yes. Isn't Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed one of the high paid quarterbacks? Yes. But there's always resistance and kickback, and naysayers. Look at Dak Prescott. He got, good for him, where he came from, a third round pick or fourth round, if I'm not mistaken, and making that money he made with the Dallas Cowboys, one of the prestige franchises, and that fan base hates him. But you get that with all fan base, ups and downs, and you dislike, love. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of folks that get frustrated with Lamar Jackson. Heck, people get frustrated with our own Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson. My God, talk about white privilege, that everyone dislikes this kid, because he looks like a little schmuck who don't care about football. And I know fandom becomes, fandom. We're fanatics. We take things extreme. But I just wanted to make a quick video about this Lamar Jackson, and just bring up some other stuff in the league, that there is tend to be a little collusion with, when it comes not just to Lamar Jackson, from the enemy, from all different head coaches. Look at Todd Bowles. I don't believe he's a good head coach. He coached my Jets and he wasn't good. He got that Tampa Bay job because Arians retired. He won't, once he's gone, and he's not gonna have a good season. The team is bad. He will never be a head coach again. Plain and simple. He will not be a head coach again. You know, it's time to start peeling, or taking the lenses off, and not taking the colorblind, and make everyone equal. Get colorblind and everyone all the same. That's why we want to make sure, as a nation, we just don't see color. We just got to see work ethic, smart. In I hope Bieniemy in Washington helps that team, where he's going to get elevated. But in a way, I don't, because it's against our Giants. I don't want to see the Commanders do good either. So I'm like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. But guys like that get that extra elevation, when it comes. One of my favorites, Flores. Man, I hope Flores becomes another head coach. Not only that, he's a New York native. One, he's African American plus Hispanic, who's Honduran, from my culture. So I'm a big fan of Flores. I want Flores to do good. He's pride for Honduras. So, what a prideful situation to have a head coach. When he coached Miami, it was like, oh my God, it was exciting. And whatever happened. I hope he gets another opportunity and he becomes a Super Bowl winning head coach. He'll be, what a prideful Ron Rivera, being Hispanic, Mexican, it's good to see on ours there. Victor Cruz, seeing him Afro Latino winning a Super Bowl. And of course, this is a gumball. This NFL is a gumball of everyone of all different ethnicity, and I like to see it. Not just but we have to break the stigma and the stereotype that 6'4" big cornfed white boys are the best quarterbacks. Um, and they're the smartest. Not always. There's a lot of smart kids out there in different other division in other schools that could quarterback, that could play well, smart. You know, let's take that stereotype away. Just because they're Caucasian, they're the smartest and they're the best athletes. And I'm really thankful that Patrick Mahomes is breaking that mold, and Lamar Jackson and others. You know, that's why we were excited myself when I saw Mark Sanchez being a head quarterback for the Jets, for New York of all teams. Let's go. Bring that name proud, Sanchez. Let's do this. Latino descendant. And I know it didn't work out, but it's good to see that we could quarterback and we could still be in the league. But he never got another really good opportunity. It's not to go over in circles, but that's why I wanted to make this video with Lamar Jackson, how I feel I feel by looking at the product and seeing all the different things. And maybe I don't have the ins and outs. Maybe Bieniemy is a terrible interviewer. When they interview him, he was horrible. But maybe Flores is not good with the media, good with with the staff, with the personnel, making those type of decisions. Maybe he's horrible. Maybe Todd Bowles isn't a good game manager, doesn't get the best out of his players. Maybe he relaxes too much and his teams are too laissez-faire. All the narratives. Maybe there is some truth to that, but man, there's a lot of coincidence mounting up. But with that said, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to vent, giving me a half hour of your time here to talk about this NFL situation. We'll keep our agency is about to start. The free tampering. When I make this video, the tampering situation is lifted, and of course, about another week they'll be official with the signing. About the 15th, 2 more days. Excuse me. So right now they could get to have some agreements in principle. Everybody's waiting for the Aaron Rodgers. If he's going to go to the Jets, if the Jets pivot to Lamar Jackson. Keep posted, keep tuned here on the BX Sports Jedi Network. I am BX Sports Jedi Kev. Thank you so much again, and have a good one.